Guys, well, we'll be coming into camera in just a second, I think, but my name's Dr. Cordy Williams, hashtag Megaphone Marine, hashtag 1776 forever free. Great to see you guys. Hopefully you had an awesome week and weekend. We had a lot of great rallies out there, not only in the local area, but also we had a big march in DC. If you haven't gotten a chance to look at it, please go ahead and do so. Bunch of good stuff out there to share and like. The movement is growing, guys. It's growing around California. Everything you heard in those videos is completely true. Make sure you're getting those petitions signed. You're mailing them in. You're busting your tail on the weekends because we're down to the fourth quarter and every signature is going to count. Remember, we were shooting for 2 million way back, I don't know, 6 months ago. It seems like 10 years ago. But 3 to 6 months ago, we were shooting for 2 million signatures. We were shooting for $4 million, right? All that is still happening. It's still an active thing that we're doing. We got some special guests tonight, but the first thing I'm going to do, I think is kick it over to Mr. Mike Netter, not to be confused with his alias or AKA Mike Netters. But Mr. Netter, go ahead, brother.
Well, I'm glad there's only one of me, and probably so is most of the world. Thanks, Corey. By the way, you did a great interview. I caught on One American News this weekend, and I love your new background that you've got. It's epic, brother.
Thank you, buddy.
So there's been lots going on in California this week, and we're honored tonight to have a special guest here. And as we progress about the recall, and Orrin will give an update in a few minutes, just things everybody's going to ask about. We do lots of updates for our volunteers, but most breaking news for those of you that haven't heard, we have a date for our court case hearing for the extension. That's November 6th, and we feel fairly confident it's going to be continued to move forward. In California this week, I found the most striking thing is Gavin Newsom continues just to tick off everybody. It's like he wants to tick off all of California. And if you mess with anything, especially for those of us in Southern California, don't mess with the mouse. He announced again that Disneyland was being kept shut down, keeping 28,000 people out of work. It just amazes me. And if they're allowed by his Emperor Gavin to open in January, they can open in a 25% capacity. For those of you keeping score at home, that's because, as you know, Disney World in Florida has been, they haven't had a single case of COVID. That's right, 0. But apparently 0 is Gavin, it must be -6. Some people have to miraculously recover or something for California to reopen. And for my friends in Riverside this home, I do apologize for the takeout because, again, Riverside is now shut down. So thanks for the 15 days of fame that he left and opened the county. We also know today there was the court case up north that went into action. But without further ado, what I'd like to do is get to someone we don't normally we don't endorse candidates on this show, okay? We've made it very clear that we're open, we're nonpartisan. However, there are 2 people in California that need to go. One is Gavin Newsom, and number 1A is Adam Schiff. And I believe our friend in the White House has a name for him, that's Pencil Neck, which is a good reminder for everybody, as was put out today. Please don't sign a petition in pencil, and please do everything you can to get the gentleman known as Pencil Neck out.
Or Shifty Schiff too.
Or Shifty. It's, you know what? Between Gavin and Adam, it's really hard to keep up with the nicknames. We probably should do a whole show one day, Cordy, on just the nicknames that we have for these various politicians. Also want to state before I give Eric his 15 minutes of fame here, not that he needs another 15 minutes, that this weekend, we are not going to be in the big rally that was going to be scheduled due to logistics in Los Angeles. However, on Halloween, yes, Halloween, no, I'm not coming dressed as Gavin Newsom. We are participating in Huntington Beach, if I got that correct, in a huge rally with about 5,000 folks that we're going to start posting. Eric's going to be speaking. They're going to be giving me, Cordy, 5 minutes on stage, if you can believe that. We're going to have the big truck there. It's an excellent chance to get out, celebrate your freedom, and for those of you out there, get signatures, get people there that don't know about what's going on in California recall movement. With that, I'd like to turn it over for about 10 minutes or so, if you don't mind, to Mr. Eric Early. Eric, you're on the air.
Thanks for having me, Mike. It's great to talk to everybody who is trying to get rid of this guy that I call the pretty boy empty suit, and that's Gavin Newsom. He's a joke. He's a pampered child who's trying to who thinks he's auditioning to be the next or one of the next presidents of the United States. And I've got news for him. He's failed the audition. He's a disaster. What we're living through here in this state, thanks to so much to him. With this, starting with this lockdown, I've been saying for a long time now that with social, with the safety measures in place, we should have opened this entire state up by mid-May. I think we could have followed that Atlanta's lead, Georgia's lead, and later on some of the other states that have been opened up. And there can really be no doubt at this point that there are ulterior motives at work here that have been keeping our state locked down. I'm here in Los Angeles County, and you still can't eat inside a restaurant here in Los Angeles County. I've got several friends that own restaurants whose businesses either have gone under or are on the verge of going under, and it's just a terrible thing to watch. These are people who had there was about a 1 or 2 week span there where you could eat indoors in a restaurant in LA, and they had all of these incredible safety measures in place. I mean, you could do surgery in one of these people's restaurants. It was so sterile and clean and prepared. And then what was it, a week or two later, they shut it all down. And just watching the suffering, they're, as I often say, they're killing us in the name of saving us. Thousands and thousands of businesses gone, hundreds of thousands of jobs gone, spousal abuse on the rise, child abuse on the rise, alcohol abuse, drug abuse, all kinds of mental illness on the rise, depression on the rise, people's safety nets, whatever safety nets they had are gone, and on and on. And frankly, at this point, I believe it's criminal what they've done and what they're doing. And I firmly believe people will forever remember what this empty suit pretty boy Gavin Newsom has done to this state and to so many lives, and those memories won't be pretty. So I totally support everybody, all of you guys, men and women, trying to get rid of that, get him out of office once and for all. In terms of my race, I'm running against the person I call the worst congressman of my lifetime. His name is Adam Schiff. He's a liar. He's a leaker. He's pathological. You saw just the other day, he came out now and said that, this laptop with all of this compromising information against Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, this Schiff comes out and says it's Russian disinformation. The guy is sick. Adam Schiff, frankly, is demented. And, we're running a great race against him over here in the 28th district. We've been able to raise a substantial amount of money. He's totally freaked out by us. As an example, in 20 years since Jim Rogan, who was a great congressman 20 years ago, in 20 years, Schiff has not run a commercial against an opponent. And he's running commercials against me round the clock. And we sort of wear that as a badge of honor. And some of his commercials, frankly, I think are hilarious. And, I don't want to tell him this, but I almost wish that we'd keep running them. And we're running commercials against him, and it's a great thing. And we got a great team. We have over 500 volunteers, and we're taking it to him. He's not only been a national disgrace for everything that he's put this country through and all of us through for the last 3 years, trying to disenfranchise 63 million of us who voted for President Trump based on just one hoax after another. But he's abandoned our district, and we have huge problems. And that video you played before highlighted a lot of those problems. LA County, 63,000 people living on the street, homeless. Schiff could care less. Crime is spiking out here. Schiff wants to defund law enforcement. I'm a huge supporter of law enforcement. I want to increase funding to law enforcement. Everything obviously having to do with COVID and on and on. So then, of course, there's that the law, which again, the pretty boy empty suit signed into law, AB 5, and I'm sure many of you folks know about that. That's the one that, with limited exception, has put out hundreds of thousands of independent contractors, freelancers, and gig workers out of their livelihoods. Schiff likes to act like he supports those folks, independent contractors, freelancers and gig workers, because my district has so many in the entertainment industry. And what Schiff doesn't tell anybody, but which we're reminding everybody of, is that there is a federal version of AB 5 pending in Congress right now that if it passes, would have the same effect nationally that AB 5 is having here. And guess who one of the co-sponsors of that national bill is? It's Adam Schiff, because he's bought and paid for by the same public employees unions that everybody in what I call the Politburo up there in Sacramento is bought and paid for by. So, we're getting a lot of great feedback on our race. The way our district has been drawn up, it's been drawn up so they try to make it impossible for a Republican to win. But thankfully, of course, we have the conservative vote, the Republican vote, but we are reaching out to what I call moderate Democrats and independents, of course. And, just like so many of us, moderate Democrats and independents, or at least most of them, hate this, this savagery, this looting, this violence we're seeing on the streets. They support our men and women of law enforcement. They want to see something done with homelessness after years and years of promises and taxes and nothing done about it. So, I think we're going to get a fair amount of that vote too. So, anything's possible in this race, but, it's a great campaign, and it's a great time. We have a great office in beautiful downtown Burbank, if you're ever around there on the corner of Victory and Olive. And if you live in our district, we need your vote. And the district is Sunland, Tujunga, parts of Pasadena, La Cañada, Flint Ridge, Glendale, Burbank, Los Feliz, Silver Lake, Echo Park, Hollywood Hills, and West Hollywood, and Canyon Country. So if you're in any of those locations, please vote for Eric Early. And I don't know, Mike, if you want me to answer any questions, but I'm happy to do so.
I do, and I want to answer the panelists to get a chance with you too, because we're honored to have you on the show. One of the things, in spite of my pretty good knowledge of California, that struck me home this week that you addressed, that maybe you want to address as a congressional candidate. I always feel that sometimes the national scene takes us off our focus on California so much, it's kind of allowed and shifts a primary target for that. But speaking of California, it's interesting when you talk about the California Public Employees Union, or whatever the proper initials are for it. They're the ones behind Proposition 15. They're behind a lot of things. Give us a little bit of how you feel they're affecting your district, if you don't mind, because it's like that invisible force which is out there.
Listen, for the most part, the unions in this state are bought and paid for by the Democrats, and the unions in turn basically control so many of the Democrat politicians, and it's an unholy alliance. And there is tremendous money and tremendous, when you're a candidate, if you have a union behind you, you suddenly have thousands of volunteers, who are able to make calls for you and walk for you. And, you're getting all kinds of union donations, and the unions are encouraging their members to donate to your campaign. So, it makes it much tougher. And that's one of the problems with our state, frankly, is that, you have the Politburo bought and paid for by the unions, starting with, the guy who needs to be thrown out of office, the pretty boy empty suit. But, as far as another union, for example, that I'm frankly done with, it's the teachers unions in the state of California. They not only have tremendous control over, again, the way the support that goes to candidates and such, but we don't need to look much further than our schools to find out the reasons for why we have the rioting, the looting and burning we're seeing in cities around the country, these maniacs tearing down statues, trying to rewrite history, who are really the socialists. I call them communists, frankly. They hate our Constitution. They hate our way of life. They hate everything about America. Frankly, I think they hate themselves. They hate the police. They want to defund. Frankly, they want to abolish police. And there's no doubt in my mind that this is the result of what I call these 20-year indoctrination camps, which is what our public schools, certainly in our large cities, and many of our private schools now have become. and it's fueled by the unionized teachers, which are so radicalized. You know, the United Teachers of Los Angeles, for example, they hate America, and all the problems of America are Caucasians have created all the problems in the universe, and they teach kids that socialism is great. They teach kids, you know, this sexually terrible stuff or that young kids should never hear. It's a huge problem. It's a huge issue for me. I get to Washington. I got a lot of thoughts about what I want to do with these schools and who teaches in them.
So Eric, would you say that the unions are a bigger problem as far as you, you know, winning in a landslide and totally crushing Shifty Shift? Are the unions a bigger threat to you, or is it kind of like on a national level? Is there this, you know, this possible voter, you know, kind of Democratic Sleepy Joe? We're gonna hide the ballots and we're gonna, you know,
Well, listen, I'm not talking about my race so much. I mean, my race, the uphill battle is just the way this district has been drawn. Many more Democrat voters in my district. I'm talking generally. But, you know, since you mention it, the Postal Workers Union, I think it's 300,000 members, give or take, I believe they've already come out and endorsed Joe Biden. The Democrat Party has been throwing money at the Postal Workers Union for years and years and years. The Postal Workers Union's in the Democrat Party's pocket. You know, I'm not saying that every postal worker is bad or evil or necessarily even Democrat, but the vast majority and the control of that union is Democrat. And here we are living in a day and age where, again, you know, the empty suit pretty boy Newsom decided to order out, you know, universal mail-in voting. And when you have the Postal Workers Union that controls, you know, the handling of these ballots, it's yet another reason why I'm very concerned. And they control the handling of the ballots nationwide for the same reasons that I just discussed. So it's a huge, huge problem and a huge concern.
I know Orrin just went off there. I wanted to see Orrin, by the way, our fearless or leader, who tonight is the only person dressed in a tie, which is actually a first. Usually I have one or Cordy has one.
I usually wear a tie also, but here I am. I wore it.
No, you fit in with the crowd. Orrin's just trying to show you up, I think.
Okay.
Orrin
Great, Orrin.
And by the way, before we move on, you've got to say recallgavin2020.com, Eric.
Recallgavin2020.com, folks. Sign up. Get him out of office.
And Orrin,
Eric,
go ahead.
I don't want you to leave, Eric. I want you to hear a little bit about what our next guest has to say, Andrea. And Mike, what were you asking of me?
Well, you happen to be an retired police officer. I'm always get corrected on that. And I wondered if you had any specific funding police comments you wanted to make to Eric since he brought it up.
I mean, you know, I think that the average citizen out there recognizes that, you know, the men and women who stand on that thin blue line play a vital part in keeping our society together. Yeah. Consider this: if you were to drive from Sacramento to Los Angeles and there were no police, how far do you think you would get? You know, defunding police is just an asinine idea. You know, it's just, you know, one more step in the absurdity of the direction that the ultra left is going.
Yeah.
And I have a hunch that this is one of the reasons our next guest is joining us tonight, because she is a lifelong Democrat, voted for Gavin Newsom. And Cordy, I'm stealing your thunder, brother. Would you like to introduce our next guest, or do we have more questions for Eric?
No, I was going to let you go for it, man. I was
all right.
Mike, can I just add one thing along the lines of what you're saying? A retired sheriff told me the other day that every single day in America, there are 600,000 police patrols. Multiply that by 365. That is the brave, heroic, you know, acts of kindness, et cetera, work that's being done every single day. You're talking millions and millions of acts. And all we hear about is this, you know, one or two that the mainstream media wants to shove down our throats when they try and paint all law enforcement as bad. And frankly, it makes me sick. And one other thing that makes me sick, because I call this a leaderless state, and this is along the lines of what everybody in your group is doing. Not one major elected official in this state, starting with that clown up there in Sacramento, then going to Becerra, who is the chief law enforcement officer of the state of California. He's a flat out Marxist. Going to this spineless worm, Eric Garcetti, who paid $150 million in ransom out to who knows who. Going to Schiff, my opponent, etc. Not one of them has come out and voiced support for our men and women of law enforcement, especially in this day and age when they're under attack every single day of the week, left, right, and center. And it shows you the complete lack of character, lack of guts, and the lack of decency and anything else that these characters, led by Newsom, are all about. And they're just politically correct hacks. And certainly most of America supports law enforcement, but the mainstream media and these people leading this state don't want anybody to believe that. So with that said, thanks so much for having me.
No, appreciate it. Do stay on. I always say I don't want to ever call 911, and I can't wait for the social worker to show up on my lawn. That's going to work out well for me. Go ahead, Orrin and Corey.
I'm trying to get to you, Andrea. I'm going to get to you sooner or later. I promise.
Sorry. Welcome to our show.
Hey, Eric, the one thing that I wanted to share with you is a glimmer of hope and confidence that you will win. And that being said, because your targeted voter out there has a much more broad scope than even we know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We are the silent majority, but there is another silent movement taking place, and this is with the walkaway folks.
Yeah.
You have people like Andrea, who's joining us tonight as a guest speaker, a lifelong Democrat, like I said, voted for Gavin Newsom. And Andrea, I'm going to let you tell the rest of your story, but you have to unmute yourself.
Great. Okay, I've already had my children coming into my room once, so I will admit I'm fairly new to this Zoom business. As my children have had to go on to Zoom, for their school, they've actually had to kind of coach me through this. So I just want to make sure you can even hear me.
We can hear you.
Okay, good. So like Orrin was saying, I am a lifelong Democrat. I don't know how far of a backstory you want, but like my parents, they were living in Dallas when JFK was assassinated. So I just kind of always identified with being a Democrat. And, back in the day, it was far less controversial than it is now. In many senses. And, even 20 years ago, being a Democrat was very, very different than it is now. And so
just a couple years ago.
This is true. It's really true. And I think for me, kind of my awakening kind of really has been in just the last 2 to 3 years. I'm not originally from California. And so my husband and I moved here, I guess it was 9 years ago in the summer. Again, just good little Democrat, never really questioned anything. And we had been living in the Seattle area. And so I kind of always admired California because you grow up on the West Coast and you just kind of think as California is, you've arrived if you get to California. And so we moved down here just under a decade ago, and I was pregnant with my third. And we ended up in the Bay Area in Marin County. And so I had always admired some of the kinds of policies around maybe like marriage equality. So I was kind of keeping track of Gavin Newsom and his political career. And again, from afar, not really very informed. I wasn't like some kind of a poli-sci major or anything. But I landed in California with a couple kids and gave birth a few months later in Marin, and did in fact name my son Gavin after Gavin Newsom, because I just was sort of swept up in the narrative, I guess, and didn't really question what was going on, and really not seeing that the party of JFK was slipping farther and farther away, from its origins. I, had just kind of grown up thinking, oh, this is the party of compassion and inclusion. And, I think my parents voted, Republican at certain times. I mean, certainly nobody was hardcore, but I just was a Democrat. That's how I always would have identified. And so I at least had enough respect for Newsom, or so I thought at the time, that, I was probably just drunk on the sun and the fruit or something. I don't know, but I named my son Gavin, right? And I think back on that now, and I still love the name, but the man is just so hideous. And so, I mean, I can keep talking. I mean, if people want to ask questions, it's funny. I'm sitting up here with this panel of all these impressive people, and I'm like, why am I in one of these squares? My
Andrea,
children have already
I just
tried to
have
burst
say
into the room.
I just have to say that Gavin Newsom has tarnished a good name. Okay.
He has. And my theory at this point is my son is going to redeem the name, that he's going to do something in life that is
Absolutely.
Because I mean, I feel silly, like pretty boy, empty suit. I don't even have anything cute to say. It's kind of laughable that I'm sitting here with like all this intelligence, right? But
well, no, and I want everybody on this call, everybody that's going to watch this over the next week, to know that Andrea is in my area. I had the honor of meeting her today up in Yuba City. We were up at the hearing for Gavin's executive orders with Gallagher and Kevin Kiley, who have filed suit against Gavin to reopen the state. There was a good showing of people up there, and I was resting, and Andrea came up, introduced herself. It was nice meeting you today. Folks, you have no idea the dedication and the devotion Andrea has given to this movement. And I applaud you for what you've done, the help that you give. She's out there, and I heard of Andrea through the grapevine that there's this little Spitfire out there, barking at the crowds, gathering signatures. And tell me how do you go out and get people to draw them into the booth where we're signing?
It's a bullhorn. It's truly a bullhorn. I went to Harbor Freight and bought a bullhorn because, I mean, I was down in that crowd on the Capitol, lawn of the Capitol on May 1st, and ended up in the garage in handcuffs with those like 33 other people. And so I have watched this tyrant run amok.
Yep.
No, he totally run amok.
Andrea was one of 32 people
who
were arrested May 1st out at one of our rallies that we were putting on in concert with another group. And it was just unconscionable. And this lawsuit that we filed to gain an extension actually lists that as part of the problem, that the reason we're seeking the extension is that day. But Andrea's out there just fearless and tireless. She is not only out calling to the crowds, she's stomping across the crosswalk as the light turns, and she's talking to the people, and people are pulling over because they hear what she's out there doing. They hear what she's saying, and she's getting the job done. And that's the kind of motivation that encourages other people to get out there and get it done. And Eric, I hope to God you take confidence in what she's telling us today, because she's not alone. Well, she may be the only one that named her kid Gavin, but but she's not alone. We have time and time again. I'm talking to people out in the field. Michelle down in Huntington Beach, she might be listening to the call. She was another one that we had on as a guest speaker earlier. Walkaway Democrats are coming to the cause in droves, and they're not only supporting this recall, it is foremost and it is very important to everybody, but they're also seeing the light. And Andrea had a perfect metaphor for it. She basically said, once you unpeel the onion and you see what's inside, you can't unsee it. You can't close your eyes and walk away. Once you see what's going on and you realize what they've been up to and the direction they're going, you have no other choice but swing the pendulum the other direction.
And all I was going to say, Andrea, is first of all, you know, you're 100% qualified to be on this call because you're a patriot. I mean, you're out there doing stuff like May 1st. You know, I saw you get thrown to the ground. You know, like you're 100% a patriot. The other thing I would say is your story is so valuable because it gives people an opening and it allows people to see what's possible. In today's current political climate, you know, a lot of folks out there are feeling like, you know, they can't share what side they're on. They can't talk about what political views they have, or they're going to be ostracized. And for you to come out and say, hey, I was this way, now I'm this way, and my views have changed. I think that gives a lot of people a lot of freedom. Like my best friend, for example, has never voted in an election. He's a Black man. His two parents are kind of in the middle, maybe going to vote for Sleepy Joe, but they're wearing my 1776 gear because they back me, and he's about to vote for the first time, and he's going to vote for Trump. So I think it's stories like this and like yours that really give people the freedom to say, hey, you know, I can change my mind. I don't have to go with what the status quo is or what the media is putting out. So, you know, I just commend you for sharing your story. Your story is very powerful, very powerful.
And you are an inspiration to us all.
Yeah, Andrea,
Get bullhorns.
Yeah.
You all need bullhorns. I'm telling you, it's the secret. Because I don't think people don't know. I mean, you just start telling people like what he's done. It's crimes. They don't know. And they roll down their window and they're like, oh my God, he did what? And it's like, it sells itself. And they just can't wait to sign because I think like the information, it's being suppressed. I mean, in this spirit of this guy being a tyrant, it's not like it's headline news, all of the stuff he's doing. And it just takes a few little things on a bullhorn. People are ready to sign. I mean, that's how bad this guy is. He's lost his mind.
Yeah, Andrea, this is Eric speaking. It's certainly great to see you and meet you over Zoom. And I will say, and it's along the lines of something Mike was saying, we're seeing a lot of the same thing happening in my district. People who, you know, like I was saying, lots of what I call moderate Democrats. So, you know, the ones on the far left who hate Trump think Schiff walks on water. But the moderate Democrats are seeing, wait a second, something's not right here with the story that I've been seeing on CNN and MSNBC and this socialist rag, as I call it, the LA Times down here. And more of them are coming over to our side. So I agree, Mike, with what you said, that anything's possible thanks to people like Andrea here.
Thank you, Andrea. And
Yeah.
Cordy, we have one other guest that we're going to bring up is Robin on the phone with us, or on the call with us.
Well, introduce who Robin is, Orrin.
You got to unmute
I
yourself.
will. I want to make sure she's here before we
She
introduce.
is.
Okay, she just unmuted. Cool. Welcome to the show, Robin.
Thank you.
So
why don't you tell us a little bit? I know that you volunteer. And
Robin is an officer of the board. She's a founding member of the California Patriot Coalition, and she's a lead proponent for this recall. Robin is in charge of, she's one of the state administrators who oversee all operations throughout the state. This is an incredible task that she and a couple other people have taken on. Susan, I can't thank them enough. And I can't name all of them here. And I apologize that I want to get to everybody, but Robin has an important message for our group today. She oversees operations of 74 volunteer groups, 139 administrators, 17 regional managers who also are incredibly important and do a valuable job for this recall. And those 17 administrators oversee 175 to 200,000 members. I haven't done the tally yet. The last tally that I had was 175,000, and that was a month ago plus. And I know that we have grown substantially since then. And it has become a full-time job for this entire team. And Robin has an important message for the volunteers and people on this call.
Thank you, Orrin. And thank you for starting this, and to everyone that works so hard on this recall. The one thing that I wanted to share tonight is these town halls are so critical for sharing information, but really importantly, stories.
Are you gonna
Stories
let
like,
us see you? I can't see you.
oh, how do I do that? You guys wanna
Unmute
see me?
your camera.
Okay,
Unmute your camera, Orrin.
there we go.
Well, unlock your camera.
Okay,
There she is.
there I am. I just wanted to compare what we do, Susan Hurd and I, she's the other state administrator and she's amazing. I could not get through a day without Susan and I working together, but what we do is different than what is happening on these town halls. These town halls are so awesome because they provide updates, entertainment, and people like Eric and Andrea, last week Scott, and the multiple guests we've had that share heartfelt stories and energize the people in a way from sharing what they go through and how the recalls affected them. What Susan and I do is we have what we call our regional manager meetings on Tuesday nights. And we work with all the volunteers. Like Orrin said, there's 20 regional managers, 135 authorized personnel, 55 of whom are lead. And what the lead authorized personnel do is they have letters on behalf of Orrin, the lead proponent, to deliver when the time is appropriate, all the petitions they gather throughout the state in their county to the county offices. And in addition to that, we have 240 people that help admin the Facebook pages, approving posts, approving new members, that kind of thing. So while these meetings are more informational and stories, unfortunately, the meetings Susan and I have are not always so nice. We have to give the hard, cold facts to these people who give every day, everything they have, passion, dedication, tirelessly working throughout the state. And I ran the numbers just because sometimes people get so down and so tired. And what we run into and what these people share with us is how frustrating it is when people, even though they come up and thank them profusely for donating their time, for being out in the thick smoke, for being out in the heat, for being out, you know, in the last recall in the cold, and then they say, how are we doing? And those volunteers look at one another like, well, we're doing the best we can. And someone asked me the other day about what is our count? And I said, you know, our count really doesn't matter. What matters is there are people giving up their weekends, their family time, volunteering in addition to their jobs, homeschooling, the COVID fiasco, which I won't even share my thoughts about that. And they wonder why we can't get this job done. So I decided to run some numbers. And in Butte County alone, I'm up north, we have 220,000 people. And of those, that population in Butte County, we have about 20 active volunteers who are working nonstop every weekend. And I thought, well, let me compare that to LA. Well, LA has 10.4 million people. And I talked to our regional managers down there, and they have about 100 consistent volunteers. And when you start doing the math, in Butte County, that's 0.00009% of the people helping on this recall. And LA, you add one more 0.9. So what our job is, Susan and I, is to try to help these people that are trying to do something for this state and for all of you and all of your friends and families and coworkers and children. And we need to motivate them. We need to educate them. We need to tell them what does and does not make a petition valid and or a signature. And we need to try to keep inspiring them to inspire one another and to encourage others who come up to the table to say, how are we doing to step up and help us? because we truly are doing what is more important than most people realize.
So, Robin, I have a question.
Yeah.
If people are interested in getting out and joining with on your Tuesday call, is there a special email people can log into, like volunteer at?
Yes, if anyone goes to our website, recallgavin2020.com, there is a tab there for how to get involved, and people sign up to be volunteers. And we send out weekly a volunteer list to every regional manager, and we work to contact those people to ask them, how would you like to be involved? Through fundraising, through working a petition table, through taking 5 or 10 petitions and sharing them with friends, family, and coworkers. Or perhaps you want to be a business location and you want to put a sign in your business and say, recall petitions here. So there are so many ways people can help us to get the word out. And as most of you know, we don't have media support. So this is all word of mouth. And what we have found so often is how many people aren't aware of us because they don't have social media. They're not on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. So much of this is word of mouth, sharing with your friends, trying to get the attention of the media. And, you know, I don't even know. We need a magic something to spread the word.
I think another mechanism, people can reach out to the volunteer coordinators directly in their county. They can go to the county info tab on our website, recallgavin2020.com, click on the county info tab, scroll down to your county, click on that tab. There's usually a list, except for the very small counties that only 250 people live in or whatever, but you can click down to that list. There's a list of people there. You can reach out to them. You can email them, let them know you're available. You'd like to help. We absolutely need your help. And this is critical. And it's going to become more critical because our volunteers have been out there working day in and day out. They've experienced frustrations and, you know, through the heat and the smoke, like you talked about, and family trials and tribulations and so forth. They need a break. They need a break, and they need your help. So it's time, if you've been aware of the recall, but you really, you know, been on the fence about getting out and helping with gathering signatures and so forth in your area, this is the time where we need your help to step in, step up to the table, reach out to the people in your area. You don't have to join any particular group to volunteer. All you have to do is download the form, put it on a clipboard, and circulate it to your friends, your family, your coworkers. Carry it with you if you're going to the store shopping. Engage people in conversation. Ask them, how do you feel about how the governor is managing the state? You'll know right away if they're going to sign that petition or not. You'll know how they feel about the governor. If you get, you know, any sort of a positive response to, you know, the petition, give it to them. They'll sign it. You'll be surprised. But we need your help. We have struggled. And if you don't mind, Robin, did you have, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'm going to segue real quick. We have struggled to gather signatures throughout the state. People want to know where we are. We are a third of the way there. I can say that with a high degree of confidence. We are a third. We have a third of the number of signatures that we need to get there. Now, some people are going to be frustrated at that, and I don't want you to be. I want you to know that this has been a gallant effort, and you know that we have a deadline coming up in November, okay? But understand this and listen carefully. And this is why it's so important to get more volunteers out in the field. You don't slow up at the end of the race. You speed up, you dig deep, and you dig your heels in, and you go even faster. You pull everything you have out to make it to the finish line. I want everybody to do that as if the November deadline is the only deadline we're going to have an opportunity to achieve. But our legal team has filed with the courts for an extension. This extension has the possibility of extending our period to gather signatures from now until mid-March. Okay. Well, there's a lot of people that are going to, shrink at hearing that because they've been out gathering signatures so long, they don't have much left in them. We're going to ask you to keep going, keep pushing, keep driving, find new areas to circulate, because the same store you've been going to over and over and over again, it has been tapped out. So you need to find new blood, new sources of signatures. But we need the second team. We need the team that's been on the bench to get off the bench, get on the field, and join the forces. We need the backup. We need the Cordy, what's the military term when you get the backup from people coming in that have been off the front lines? We need the front line replenished, right?
Yeah, I would say reinforcements, or usually those are the persons other than grunts, the pogues. But I was a pogue too, so I know what it's like to be a pogue. But
we absolutely need the reinforcements to engage, get on the field, not tomorrow, but now. Start doing your research tonight. I'm gonna say one more thing, and then I'm gonna turn it back over to Cordy and Robin and Mike. With this court case, we have depleted our reserves financially. It's expensive. The money, I would have loved to have spent it elsewhere on billboards or advertisements or something like that. Hopefully more funds are going to be coming in to help drive that. But we absolutely need all the help we can get, physical volunteers in the field and your financial help. There are going to be over 10,000 people view this video in the next week. If everybody were to go in and chip in $5, $10, $100, consider this: if everybody chipped in $100, that would go a long way to help fund this fight. Robin, how much money are we paying you?
0.
Mike, how much money are we paying you?
Less than Robin.
No, actually, it's less than 0, because these people, including me, have all given of ourselves and our own finances to help start this thing and drive it forward. We have, we've put in the seed money to begin it. And what I'm trying to say is that your money that you donate is going to be well spent. It goes directly into the recall. It doesn't go into the management of these teams. We have hired consultants. They were expensive. They gave us valuable insight into how to operate the campaign and move forward on a professional basis and keep the ball moving to the goal line. And we really appreciated those services. But because of the court case, we had to make some hard decisions and eliminate some of those services so we can afford the attorneys to fight this battle. We are absolutely going to continue this battle. We're going to do everything we can in the courts to get the extension, in the field to get the signatures. We are giving you a chance of a lifetime to achieve something that is truly historic. It's monumental. This is the single largest ever attempted petition drive in the United States. You have a chance to make history, folks, but we need your help. We need your finances. Financial support. We need your physical support. And with that, recallgavin2020.com. God bless you all. And thank you for everything you're doing.
So,
back to you, Cordy.
I just wanted to say, first of all, I don't think that we've had the pleasure of meeting, and I'm sorry I didn't know like how much you've done for this movement, but God bless you. I mean, you are amazing. And I just really appreciate and my kids appreciate it too, because you're fighting for so many people just like Orrin and Mike. And, I definitely owe you a million handshakes, hugs, and all glasses of wine too.
Thank
Really appreciate you, Robin.
thank you.
We're right at 7:32. I was looking through some questions. Do you guys have anything else for Robin before I go to questions?
I think somebody just asked, hey, Cordy, get to the questions.
Oh, I didn't even see that question, right? That's funny how that goes, right? Let's see here. A lot of them, honestly, were just initially just like general, just like kind of conversational stuff or ideas, which not that the ideas weren't great, but guys, if we've already talked about it, if I don't highlight your question, it's not because I'm trying to be a jerk.
Hey, Robin, was there
okay.
anything that I missed? Because I kind of cut you off a little bit, but
I
did you have
just
any
want,
final thoughts?
yeah, two things really. Don't let the volunteering scare you if you think I just don't have the time, even though so many invest every weekend or 2 days a week or 3. Anyone can volunteer 1 day a month to give someone a relief. So don't be frightened away thinking I can't make that commitment. 1 day a month for 3 hours is amazing. That's one thing. And then the second thing is, I retired 2 years ago and my girls get on me for working so hard, saying you're working harder, Mom, now than you did before you retired. And I just like to share that I say with that, what I say to them is, if you don't stand for something, you stand for nothing. And if there is ever a time to stand for something, it's now. If we want to save our communities, our state, and even our country, it's time to recall Gavin Newsom, because heaven forbid he become president. So yes, we're tired and we're working our tails off, but it is so worth it. So stand up and speak up and don't be quiet anymore. Let's get this job done.
Amen.
Thank you, Robin. Hey, Cordy, Lori had a question. I wasn't able to get to it. It was about volunteering. And there was an and that has asked you to get to her questions.
Yeah. I saw that. And guys, we get hit up with like 1,000 questions. So pardon us, one in 1,000. So, and I mean that with love, by the way. But one I did see was regarding the paid signature gatherers. And they were just kind of wondering, how's that working? You know, what's going on with that status update, I think there.
Money. It's real simple. A lot of the things that we need for paid petition gatherers, it takes money. These are people that make a living. Okay. I like that, Orrin. Okay. A lot of things you're asking tonight about the October 15th and other things to kind of condense them take money. Media, we go to KUSI, we're on it for free. If we want to go on sometimes further, One American News is great to us, it's free. Other media takes money. Okay, we're operating this campaign, if you will, or this movement, basically with very, very little cash. And when Orrin says you volunteers, again, I want to stress we're all volunteers to do something good. But a lot of the questions here really come down, why aren't you doing certain things? Money, right, Orrin?
Absolutely. Yep.
Cordy is the only
that's
one.
the long
Well, we
and
don't pay
short of it.
Cordy either.
So, and consider this, folks. We have our team, the state team has provided the opportunity to the state in order to get this done. We have the management structure. We have the organization. We have the communication systems in place. We have this, we have that. Everything's in place. We are missing one key ingredient, and that's financial support. You know, it's going to take a lot of money. And if there are people out there who know CEOs who've been hit hard in the industries, if you know, folks that run businesses that are suffering now, that might want to help foster this cause and fund this fight, because if we're successful, when we're successful, it will greatly benefit them. The cloud will be lifted off of the state forever, but we have to get it done, and it's going to take financial support to do that.
Okay.
Orrin, can I just jump in really fast and say volunteering is so much fun. It is. I mean, I've just the coolest people ever. And I'm realizing I think I just really knew lame people before the recall. And that isn't just the other volunteers. Like I've gotten into conversations with people that are so incredible. People I just never would have met. And everybody has a story. And everybody's being affected by this, and it's just really been a really unifying thing for me. And I'm relatively new to the Sacramento area. We were displaced by the Tubbs fire, and this has just been a great way for me to meet incredible people. So I can understand, I get tired, I'm hoarse. I was just up somewhere screaming on the bullhorn, and I'm a little hoarse, but I mean, you just get such a charge off the people you meet, and not just the volunteers, but the people signing. So for anybody who might be on the fence, it's so worth it. And like you said, this is historic. I mean, recalling a governor, what was it you said? I tried to write it down. You said it was the single largest ever attempted petition drive. I mean, that's phenomenal. It's phenomenal when you think about it. And we could be stopping this guy from getting into the White House. I mean, don't we all kind of want a piece of that, to be like, hey, I was involved? I just kind of give
to derail his fast train. We have to derail him.
Yeah. And meet amazing people along the way to Bullhorn. The Bullhorns are fun. I'm telling you. The Bullhorn is the way to go. Bullhorns are fun.
I consider them competition, but that's a story for another day. Orrin knows that.
We got about 2 minutes until
Right.
40.
I did see a question I want to answer, and
Go
the
ahead.
question
I'm going
was
through the questions, guys. So I'm not doing a shifty shift or a sleepy Joe on you. I'm looking through the questions. Go ahead, Orrin.
Right.
the question was, do we take checks? And I just saw it again. Yes, we take checks. You can the address to mail the petition is PO Box 417030, Sacramento, California, and 95841, I think. Look at the bottom of the form. It's on the address is listed on the bottom of every petition form. You can tuck your check right in there with the petition and mail it to that PO box, and we will get it. And we appreciate all donations. There's 2 mechanisms to donate. You can donate straight to the website at recallgavin2020.com. Just click the donation tab, and the amounts are there, or you can write in an amount.
And for Krista, if you're still on, Krista, I tried to answer as many of your questions as I could. I think she got a little mad at me there, but at any rate, what else we got here?
Who could get mad at the lovable Cordy Williams?
Thank you, Orrin. I appreciate it.
I'm not even put his hat on the right way
either, right?
No, we love you, brother.
Love you. There was more in here. A lot of questions about the paid signature gatherers, but guys, I think for the most part they kind of covered that. So, hopefully you understand. Yeah, I don't see any others. If you see any other, Mike, let me know. But I don't see anything that's like,
No, but I'll give a usual ending note, and then I don't want to appreciate everybody staying on this so long. We've dropped a few here. Look, we run as transparent a movement as anybody. Okay, we don't get to all the questions each week. We tend to say the same things. But for everybody here, when you talk about getting tired, I want you to comprehend something. Eric is going to win his election on November 3rd and be done with it. No matter what happens, even with the court extension, we're only in the 3rd quarter here, guys. We officially go on to the 17th. The trouble with politics in California is it's not a stop and start. We need to do everything we can to get Gavin out of office. This just in. Gavin isn't stopping on November 3rd. He's not stopping on November 17th. We have to stop him. It's going to take all of us together, no matter how tired we get, no matter how frustrated we get, no matter of any obstacle in front of us. It is up to us to save California. That's all I got tonight. God bless everybody. Let's go. I will see you next week. We'll talk to many of you in between. Take back California and recallgavin2020.com. Thank you and good night.
See you next week, 6:45 p.m. Events this weekend, gentlemen. I don't know about any, but I'm going away to a cabin to be with my family after 6 weeks of being gone. And
How come I'm not invited?
huh?
How come I'm not invited?
Well,
Good night, everybody.
talk about that on the air, Mike. I don't know. I don't want to use such explicit language to, in front of our.
We'll cut that part out. Good night, everybody, and God bless.
Love